I've been riding mountain bikes for about 20 years now, but e-bikes for only about a year. But these are my essential skills, from riding skills that I've learned to planning my rides to make sure I use the maximum potential of my e-mountain bike. Timing your pedal strokes and a smooth cadence through the cranks is really going to help on an e-bike. It's just going to help you flow up that trail and try and avoid smashing your pedals on the side on these ruts and bumps like I've got on this trail. But it also keeps that power delivery nice and smooth and constant. It's also going to help with your battery conservation. So just like a car, sudden accelerations then stops, it's going to burn through that fuel a bit quicker. Also smooth flow, it's going to help with grip. So great for your rear tyre for climbing. It's also going to help you stop crashes. If you're throwing your weight around and pedaling really hard, you can often fall off. I find the easiest way to time my pedal strokes is to push a slightly harder gear, just so my feet aren't getting near the floor quite so often, and actually trying to muscle my bike around to try and keep the bike as upright as possible. Timing your pedal strokes and keeping smooth power gets even more important on the technical climbs, where if you whack your pedal or stop for a second, you might not get going again. It might be game over and it's time to push. One invaluable lesson I've learned is if you do have to push the bike, use your walk mode and actually use it to get your bike up into an easier gear. So it starts spinning the cranks for you, start clicking your gears, and it's gonna start shifting on the back. Saves you putting loads of power through the cranks and trying to do it yourself when you're on the bike. Now I'm in my easiest gear. Hopefully I'll make it up this time. Learning how to master that power overrun on your bike, it's almost like a cheat mode. So it takes a split second for the motor to disengage when you stop pedaling, and you can use that to your advantage. So give it a really big pedal stroke, then let off. The back tyre is going to keep power on it. That's really useful for getting up and over obstacles or up steps in steep climbs. But it only lasts a split second, so you've got to get back on the pedals pretty quick, otherwise you're going to stall and probably find it hard to get going again. The electric boost that e-bikes bring to your riding is addictive. It's so much fun. It's literally become my shuttle bike. No van, no ski lift needed. Winching myself to the top of the hill and just blasting out as many downhill runs as I possibly can, doing it all over again, not even stopping for a breath. Doesn't mean your battery's going to last very long though, a couple of hours or even less if you're like me and you don't stop. So I've learned to cool my jets a little bit and the motor and back it down a power level and put in my fair share of the work. What's the essential skill, I hear you ask? Well, it's kind of learning how long your battery lasts for your type of riding. Sometimes it might be fine just to go out for an hour and a half, 2 hours and leave it in boost mode, kill the battery, get loads of intense riding. But if you do run out of battery, it becomes very hard work. So I'm learning to extend my rides a little bit, put in my fair share of the sweat and hopefully not run out of battery. Steep climbs and lots of power equals wheelies, but with the motor and all that weight nice and low on an e-bike, feels like I can really exaggerate my forward position on the bike, stop the bike from wheeling, and that weight keeps that rear wheel driving. It's also nice to have your seat low on the bike to help you maneuver the bike on the steepest climbs. So it's time to put my money where my mouth is and try and get up this one. Oh! Not quite. Ah! Is that cheating? Ah! Oh! Ah! Oh man, that'll do. low down weight of an e-bike and its big tyres do make them feel really planted in the corners with loads of grip. But it does feel like I've got to muscle the bike around a little bit more. So really throw it around, get the bike moving beneath me, especially here where I've got a really grippy right then left hand berm. I'm really throwing it one way to the next. It does feel really predictable though, because with the big tyres and all that grip, I feel like I've got much more warning about when the bike is going to slide. Now, wheeling is probably the oldest trick in the bike riding books, and it's great for impressing people, but I've also found myself using it an awful lot on an e-bike for actually making speed or getting through obstacles. So just like this section here, I'm going to ride up it. If I try and pedal through it, with these ruts, I'm more than likely going to whack my feet on the floor. I can now just raise my bottom bracket 6 inches by getting the front wheel off the floor. So I can get through this, keeping the power to the ground. It's also really useful for just being really fast through sections. So rocky bits, again, I don't think I want to risk whacking my pedals on the floor. If I can, I'll pick the front wheel up and wheelie through it. You're not going to notice the weight of an e-bike so much when you're accelerating, because obviously you've got the motor to get you up to speed, but where you'll really notice it is when you've got to stop the bike. So I've got a fairly fast section here down to a corner. On a normal bike I can brake quite late, let off the brakes and get into that corner, but on an e-bike I'll be braking probably about here. Just because of the weight of the bike, it's going to take a little bit longer to slow down. It's worth noting that on a really fast section I don't want to over brake, because on the exit of that corner I might be above the speed of pedal assist on this bike. Therefore I'm really going to feel the weight when it comes to getting back up to speed. The weight of an e-bike makes the suspension work very well, so it often means you can plough through some really rough terrain. You've got to know when you're punishing your bike too much, because it's easy to start puncturing and eventually it's going to take a toll on your wheels as well. So sometimes you need to back off the speed a little bit or even start unweighting on the really rough stuff. So there's a few of the skills I think are important when it comes to getting the most out of your e-bike. Wheeling's a really good one, really useful for going through sections fast and trying to time your pedal strokes to make it smooth, get the power to the floor, but also stop crashing. And just starting to throw your weight around. I think for me, it's just an adjustment of a lot of the skills I already had, except for the cheap one where I'm using that overrun of the battery. But it really is like riding a normal bike. It's just an adjusting your riding to suit it a little bit better. Click over there for a motor fundamentals video that's going to talk you through about the different systems. Hit the logo to subscribe, give us a thumbs up if you like this one. And I've got one final tip. It's what I call the kick turn. If you want to go in the other direction. See ya.